Hi everyone, I'm Dave Sammut. I'm the coordinator of the RACI mentoring program. I'm joined by Brent Koeman, who is the New South Wales branch coordinator, but is also one of the key administrators of the mentoring and careers program committee. I'd very much like to welcome everyone to the 2022 program, and I hope that you're all going to have a wonderful, rewarding year with us this year. Before we start tonight's discussion, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we are meeting all around Australia. We recognise the elders past, present and emerging, and also recognise their contributions as Australia's first scientists and engineers, building a healthy and safe community, what they've done and what we can still learn from their ways. We'd also like to thank the current sponsors of the RACI Careers Development Program, DCS Technical, Envirolab and Laboratory Credit Union. Now, tonight is just meant to be a friendly group discussion about the mentoring program, what we're doing, what we hope to get out of it, sometimes how mentoring can work. It's very much meant to be a Q&A session. So if you've got questions, for goodness sake, drop them into the Q&A and or the chat, and we'll try and answer them. Put your hand up and have a chat with me. I'll start the ball off by talking about stuff, but please just jump in anytime with your questions. I'm going to start tonight by apologising. There are a handful of mentees this year who have not yet been matched. That's my fault. We basically, it's a long story, but there's just a handful of that are unmatched. I hope to have that sorted by early next week, but hopefully at worst by late next week. So hopefully everyone will have a mentor very, very shortly. And I apologise to anyone who doesn't in the meantime. The way the program works is we generally ask you to try to budget as mentees, to try to budget 4 hours a month for participation in the program. That's 1 hour a month to meet with your mentor and learn with your mentor, 1 hour a month to do some training and learning experience with us, and then 2 hours a month on average to go to events, network, and build your network, build your connections. In the mentoring program, we try and work with you in 3 ways. We try and build your knowledge of how the job market works and all of the simple things that you can do to give yourself, to give yourself a significant advantage in the market over other candidates, to build your skills for developing resumes, cover letters, networking, etc. And then to also then go out and build your professional network. Because even at the graduate level, you are far more likely to find a job through your network than you are through advertised positions. On the topic of networking, I know that many of you will be nervous about networking. It is a natural and normal thing to be nervous about networking. And so one of the things that we want to teach you over the course of the year is some simple tricks and tips that can make the whole process much easier. And hopefully in 2022, unlike the last 2 years, there'll be some good opportunities to practice that face-to-face, not just online. But I do want to emphasize, we do hold a monthly networking session called Camaraderie. Brent, do we still do it first Thursday of every month, or is it varied? I don't remember.
It's varied at the moment, and then we're also going to try and do it different times this time, not always.
Yeah. So last year, what we did is we ran a careers event every Thursday night, and the principle behind it was the idea that our mentees and our mentors knew that we didn't expect you to come to every single event, but that you'd always know that there would be an event of interest every single week. But frankly, that was brutal to organize. And so this year, what we're taking a different tack. We're doing fewer events, and we're putting more effort into develop e-learning resources. But the events that we are doing, they're not going to be same time each week. We're going to move them at different times of the week, different times of the day, to try to give different people an opportunity, because there's no time you can pick, day, afternoon, evening, Monday to Friday, that will suit everyone. So if we just move it around, then hopefully it shares around the opportunity to attend these events. And again, feel free to ask questions, so jump in anytime. Brent, can you make me a co-host in case the Q&A thing comes up? So events that we will be running this year: camaraderie, online networking. I really love camaraderie. It's got this fabulous energy to it. And we meet people from all around Australia, people that we wouldn't ordinarily get to network with. The fact that Shane Koenig and I know each other comes at least partly down to camaraderie, because we've had a good chance to chat with each other over the course of time when we otherwise probably never would have met. We're also going to run, every couple of months, we're going to run Careers Hack. Now, that's an event that we run for active job seekers. And what we do is we bring job seekers together with recruitment professionals. We talk about what sort of job are you looking for, what's your current strategy, and we develop an individual strategy for each participant, plus follow up with introductions and stuff to assist their job search. Almost every single camaraderie that we ran last year resulted in at least one of the participants getting a job directly as a result of their participation in camaraderie. So it's a very good initiative. There will be webinars, there'll be educational webinars. One of the things that we always look for is, what are you interested in? You tell us what you're interested in. We can do the usual workshops and online webinars and things like that about how to do a good resume, how to do a good cover letter. Last year, we recorded 44 webinars, and they're all up on my YouTube page, which I will put up there. I think most of them are on the website, aren't they? Brent?
Yeah, I'll have a look and see if I can find the link.
Yeah, give me one sec. But for anyone who needs it, just popping it into the chat. Where is the chat? Here is the link to the YouTube channel, my YouTube channel. Just you'll find it under RACI Careers Development, where I've uploaded. There's a total of 53 educational videos there of events that we ran, and we covered all sorts of topics. How to network through LinkedIn. Mental health in the workplace, successful women in chemistry, careers in science communication, how not to get the job. That was a fun little one. We tried to do a fun one about ways to mess up your application. Careers outside the lab, Ask Me Anything series, PhD perspectives, entrepreneurship in your career, exploring different career options for people who are unsure of what they wanted to do. Yeah, so lots of different topics that are there for you to explore. We also strongly, so within the next couple of weeks then, we are going to publish a list to all of our mentees and all of our mentors of all of the participants in the program, plus a range of other people who are friendly to the program, who can be contacted on an ad hoc basis. That means that for every single one of our mentees, if you're clever and you utilize this list, on day one of your participation in mentoring, you have 150 new contacts for your network. And I strongly encourage you to reach out to people and connect with them. That's what the purpose of the contact list is for. In addition to that, we also strongly encourage you to sign up to our Slack channel. We have a mentoring Slack channel. We also have a job alerts Slack channel. And that's really useful because it's the fastest way that we can let you know about job opportunities that are out there. Right now, I have 2 opportunities that I'm ready to publish to the Slack channel just today. One about a technical writing job, and one, it's a lab job. So, we will be posting, last year we were posting jobs 2 or 3 times a week. So, so it's absolutely worth keeping an eye on that Slack channel. Once a month, we are going to send you a newsletter and a survey. Now, in that newsletter, we're going to tell you about the events that are coming up. We're going to give you a training task each month that we recommend that you do. You don't have to do it, but we do recommend that you do it. For instance, one of the really great training tasks is we give you a job ad and you apply for that job, and we workshop every single person who does the task gets an individual feedback on their application about how they can improve their application. In addition, what we do, we send you a newsletter with the events and the tasks and the news and that sort of stuff, but we also send you a monthly participation survey. Now, this is really important. It helps us track your engagement with the program, and so it helps us tailor our what we're offering to you to your individual needs, right? So absolutely, please respond to our monthly surveys to keep us. It takes all of 2 minutes. It's a very short SurveyMonkey survey, but it helps keep us informed about what's going on with your individual journey. Oh God, I'm a reality TV person, but with your individual participation in the program. Similarly, mentors. If there's anything going on in your relationship with your mentee, give us feedback. Is it good? Is it bad? Is the mentee ghosting you? Are you having trouble connecting? Whatever it is, if you let us know, then we can be involved in helping to fix things. Too often, look, every year a few mentees ghost out of the program. There's nothing I can do to stop that. But what I hate is hearing from a mentor in November, oh yeah, I hardly heard from my mentee. If I know in May, I can do something about it. If I hear about it in November, well, what am I supposed to do? So this year, we're going to focus a lot of our attention on trying to produce educational resources. One of the ideas is to produce sort of 30-minute micro-credentialing that can just allow you to enhance your experience, and particularly for a lot of students who, because of COVID, aren't getting into the lab and aren't getting their hands on instrumentation, it might be a really great way of learning about individual pieces of instrumentation. As example, I might say to Scott, can you record us a 30-minute video explaining, really good use of a GC, how it's used well, how it's maintained, how it's calibrated, things like that. Just a short educational video. Or I might ask the same of Andrew Robinson about MS. Anyway, we'll be working on these things over the course of the year, and as always, the more you tell us about what is useful to you, the more we can tailor our offerings to be as useful as possible. Again, I strongly welcome anyone to submit a question so that it's not just me doing a lot of yakety yak here. Over the course of the year, we would also like to do some actual workshops. So for instance, I often run a weekend workshop, a one-day weekend workshop that I call intensive careers training. And that's basically for active job seekers, where we do, who aren't necessarily mentors. Now, actually, this is a key point. I might make this point. The mentoring is only one aspect of a much larger careers program that we offer. And we offer our careers program for free. As mentees, you've paid a small fee so that you get an individual mentor and individual attention. But we have a free offering that we want to offer to as many people as possible, not just chemists, but STEM generally and more widely. You are our biggest ambassadors. You are the people who are going to let the people around you know that these free resources exist. And we strongly, strongly urge you to do so. And these weekend intensive workshops are for people who are actively looking for work but haven't been through the mentoring program. Other ideas about weekend workshops that we're considering for this year is a tech writing and communications workshop for people who are interested in getting work in that kind of area, and also a workshop on good grants writing, particularly for people who are interested in academic careers. But again, if you guys have ideas that, things that you're interested in learning about, then for goodness sake, let us know and we'll tailor our offering accordingly. Something else I'd also like to mention is that this year we'd like to do a bunch of really interesting projects, and we will be publishing an invitation shortly to say, anyone who's interested in getting involved in RACI careers, in actually volunteering a little bit of their time to work on a project, well, we'd love to have you. And we've got a really interesting array of projects that we want to do this year. So firstly, we are already well along the way to establishing an ambassador program, so that there is an ambassador for RACI at every single university in Australia that offers a chemistry degree. I think it's a really great initiative. It's being run by a guy called Nick Taylor, and I think it's a fabulous idea that we have that direct presence at every university. There will be a lot of outreach happening with that. I very much hope that the mentees will cooperate with their individual universities, their individual institutions ambassador to work with them, partly to promote the RACI careers. The next project I think is fabulous. We're going to be working on a careers map project. So we're going to go to our 4,500 RACI members and say, could you record a short video of yourself answering just a few questions? What do you do in your career? What do you love about what you do? How did you get into it? What are the qualifications required for it, etc.? And the idea is that if we get enough responses, we can put together a map of all of the different areas where qualified chemists end up, because there are so many jobs outside the lab that people don't even imagine are possible. And I'd love to see a quick show of hands, or just put up your little attention dealio icon, whatever it is. Quick show of hands. Who at the moment, as a mentee, doesn't have a clear idea about what you want to do in your career? Right? It's quite a few hands going up. Lyndon, I know we've spoken at one point. Right, look, at least half the hands are going up here, right? So that's what this careers map is intended for. We want to be able to give you a searchable database where you can look and find your inspiration, find the thing that most interests you for your career, or the things that most interest you, because then we can help you tailor your networking to target that area so that you can go into that area much more easily, right? I'll answer Andrew's question in a moment. Yeah, so, and that careers map program, we hope to have enough responses ready by the National Congress in July in Brisbane that we can actually have a steady rolling video of people talking about their careers in one of the breakout areas at the Congress, which I think would be a fabulous idea if we can make it happen. So, we'll be looking for volunteers to lead these projects, to help these projects happen. And I very much hope that we'll be able to interest at least some of our mentees and mentors in doing so. Now, the question's been asked by Andrew. How will the workshops be available to members who aren't directly mentees or on the mentoring email list? All of our workshops, all of our events, everything that we do is, number one, it's on the RACI Careers event calendar. Sorry, on the RACI event calendar generally, not just RACI Careers, but on the event calendar. So the page is, Brent, you can throw it into the chat. It's raci.org.au/events, I think. Secondly, we will have a monthly newsletter to all of the mentoring participants, but everybody who is a member of RACI receives a state newsletter. And in that state newsletter, there will be a list of all of the careers events that will be happening each month. So there'll be multiple opportunities to hear from us. In addition, we also build a marketing list of people who've participated in our events, who have expressed interest, and we try and do a mail out to all of those people as well, so that everybody, we want everybody to know about the events. We want to try and get them as widely known as possible. So as I mentioned, one of the things that we want to do is micro courses and training. And what we hope to do is go to our many wonderful experienced mentors and get them to talk briefly, over 20 minutes or a half an hour about some topic that they know about, so that we can have, short educational videos available. And where appropriate, we'll actually tie it to micro-credentialing to give you badges that you can put onto your onto your LinkedIn account to show that you've been, you know, active and learning and really enhancing your preparation for the workforce. I think it's a great little idea if we can make it happen. We will be piloting a program this year to try and create linkages to offer work experience opportunities for our mentees. So, you know, we'll be trying to build relationships with industry and whatnot to find the opportunities for you, so that you get a chance to get some work experience. Similarly, we'll be piloting a program of what we call job advocacy. So one of the fundamental aspects of your mentoring relationship with your mentor is that your mentor is your coach, not your advocate. Your mentor's job is to help you learn, to help you build your network, etc. But your mentor's job is not to find you a job, nor is it really our job to find you a job. We want to give you the tools to find great jobs for yourself, because if you get those tools, if you develop those skills, you don't just use it once in your career, you use it throughout your career. And I guarantee you, you'll be significantly more successful through your career for having those tools. However, we also want to start a pilot program this year of job advocacy, and we'll be taking particularly disadvantaged people, refugees, new Australians, etc., people who would otherwise potentially struggle to find work because their resume, you know, people have been in academia for 10 years and now want to go into industry and are finding that transition difficult. Basically, we want to set up a program of where we actually actively go out and try to help find jobs for members who are struggling with that task. So if at any point during the year you have something, well, that you're struggling with, for goodness sake, reach out to us. We are here to help. Tiana, how do we access the Slack channels? That's a darn good question. And it's a question for someone 20 years younger and much more tech savvy than me. Can I throw it over to you, Brent? How do we access Slack channels?
Yeah, I'll send it through. Hold on.
So what do? You send an invitation to everyone on the mentoring list. Is that right?
I don't even think I'm in the Slack channel.
Right. Look, the answer is, Tiana, I don't know, but I will find out and we will let you know. I know Pam did it last year, and Pam will be able to tell Brent how it was done. I'm sorry, but I'm
sure it's not so difficult.
Yeah. You know, I'm 50, fat, balding, and a little bit out of touch. So some of these tech things I have to rely on younger, smarter people. We're going to be doing a bunch of things associated with a bunch of events and activities associated with Careers Week in May and National Congress in July. So if any of those ideas sound interesting to you, you know, we'd love to talk to you about whether you'd like to participate, volunteer, whatever. I also very strongly encourage you to look at the groups that are available in your state. You know, whether it's a pharma group, an analytical group, an environmental group, a bioactive group, women in chemistry, early career chemists. You know, these are really, the more you get involved, the more you will build your personal brand, the more you will be noticed, the more successful you will be. And it's all about, you know, I've said before, you get out of mentoring an exponential of what you put into it. But if you put 0 in, you get 0 out. So, you know, the more you put into it, exponentially more you will get out of it. So that concludes my speech. Please ask questions, put your hand up. Kim, while we wait for some questions, can I get you to speak for a moment about your experience as a mentor?
Sure, Dave, no worries. So I've been on the mentoring program for a number of years, and most of my mentees have been food industry interested people. And again, I'm back this year. Welcome to Marina, who is a chemist, dyed-in-the-wool chemist. And we've already had a lot of interesting discussions. Everybody gets something a little bit different out of the program. So I'm not sure whether Bithika is on the line. She was my mentee last year. And, you know, I said to her, you know, oh, what do you want out of the program? And she's like, oh, I've never had a job. I've got a master's and a PhD in food science, and you know, I was just really passionate about the food industry. And she didn't think it was possible to find something, and so she's had a few jobs. So that was really, it was like a really big challenge that Dave set me, and she's really explored what working is for her. In previous years, you know, had someone inspired enough to enter some competitions, won a trip to Paris, and won like trips, a couple of different trips across Australia, all inspired by doing a bit extra with the mentoring program. So everybody gets something different out of the program, but it's really about setting what your dream is, and sort of trying to work towards what you'd like to achieve in your professional life.
That's very well said, Kim.
Yeah, so everybody's looking for something different. Like some people, it might be that they just totally lack confidence and just want to meet some people. And yeah, I've already put Marina in touch with some people in the food industry that I think are really inspiring people. A little bit different to what she does. But yeah, I'm sure we'll come up with some great things this year. So.
Outstanding, outstanding. And look, you've made an excellent point, Kim. I've been doing this mentoring program for 9 years, and I was a mentor before that as well. Every year, the relationship that I have with my mentee is different. And I don't think any 2 years has been the same. Everybody has different needs. And so what it is, it's just a communication between you and your mentor. You know, communicate your needs. And if you're not sure what they are, communicate that you're not sure what they are, and explore it with your mentor. I've had mentees along the way who, you know, come into the program just with absolutely zero idea what they want to do with their career. I literally had a mentee some years back say to me, Dave, please just tell me what to do in my career. And of course, I can't do that. I can't tell you what to do in your career, but what we do, we help you network. And as you network, the more people you meet and the more different careers you get exposed to, one day you find your inspiration. You say, yeah, that's what I want to do. How do I get into that? And that inspiration moment is a joy. I've got to say the other thing, please, 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 when you get your job at the end of this mentoring program, tell us. You have no idea how happy it makes me with all of the hours. I mean, you know, I don't want to make a deal about it, but last year I put 700 hours of my time into running the mentoring program. The days when someone says, I got the job, that's what makes it all worthwhile, right? Particularly if it's somebody who's been struggling, right? You know, there've been days when I've been virtually reduced to tears of joy hearing the right person get the right job and knowing that they've had their perfect start in life. So if you ever want to pay me back for being in the mentoring program, just tell me that it worked. Twisha has asked the question, can the groups be found on the website? Yes. On the RACI website, there's a thing that talks about branches, and under each branch, there is a list of every single group in the state. Now, at the moment, we have 3 branch coordinators that cover all the states in Australia. So Brent is with us at the moment. Brent, you cover New South Wales. What other states do you cover?
No, just New South Wales.
Just New South Wales.
Yeah.
So Alicia in Victoria does Victoria and Tasmania, and Pam in Queensland does Queensland, South Australia and WA at the moment, because our very good coordinator who was in WA, Ben Fletcher, has just retired, which is a shame because he was great. But between Brent, Alicia and Pam, we have 3 amazing, dedicated professionals who just want to make your experience in RACI and in the mentoring program as great as it can be. You know, use us. That's what we're here for. Travis, are you there?
Hey Dave, how are you?
This is your second year as a mentee, isn't it?
Yes.
So for you, your mentoring experience is going to change significantly. Last year, it was going to be a lot about learning skills. And this year, I imagine you're going to focus much more on developing your network. But tell us about your experience last year.
Where to start? With COVID, it was very different, as you mentioned. Tried to partake in a lot of the camaraderies, which made it a lot easier to meet people in other states. Started talking to a few people from like Victoria about forensic science, which is the field I want to get into. And I've just started at the start of this year taking up your advice from when we last spoke, Dave, about like just going on LinkedIn and like searching forensics. And then I've actually started talking to someone who's a firearms examiner with the federal police last night, about getting into forensics. So excellent. A lot of different skills, and it's definitely been applying them past couple of months.
Right. Now we also have in the list of people that will be circulating this year is one of the friends of the program. I don't think she's a mentor this year because she doesn't have time, but she was a mentee some years ago, and she was from her class at UTS, the only mentee who got a job straight out of university in AFP forensics. So she might have a lot to talk to you about that if you want to reach out to her.
Yeah, if you can send me her name, or I'll wait for the list to be
we'll be
shared
circulating
with
the
us
list. Yeah, within the next couple of weeks.
All good.
Shane, what about your experience as a mentor?
Okay. Last year probably wasn't completely successful for me. I'm looking forward to a much better this year. It was probably a double-edged sword. My mentee was also trying to do the role as a mentor as well. I think he struggled to do both. We did have some reasonable conversations, and I think I did add some value along the way, but we just never seemed to be able to get enough, well, in the same place, same time, whatever, to be able to interact a little bit more direct, fully, if you like, which is obviously disappointing, I suppose, that I felt that I wasn't able to add as much value as I would have liked to have. I suppose the good news is I feel that this year I've been given a mentee, and I've already had discussions with Joshua, and I think he's going to be joining us, but a little bit later. He's got some other commitments tonight. So this weekend he's going to sit down and think about 4 or 5 sort of bullet points about what he thinks he wants to get out of the program, and where he feels, based on our initial discussion, I might be able to assist in that process. And then we will use that as a talking point, or talking points, I should say, not talking point, for a face-to-face in the near future. And we'll be able to go through and say, okay, these areas that I have some skills in. There may be some things where I don't have direct skills in, but I know someone who does. So therefore, I can at least facilitate that process. So it is what it is. I mean, I have been retired now for 3 years, but I still have a reasonably healthy network of other chemists that I still keep in touch with via either physical camaraderies, retiree lunches, and all sorts of things like that in the RACI. So I still know quite a few of the lab managers around the place and other people in terms of getting work experience, or at least being able to tell or facilitate people applying for some work experience. Because when I was running laboratories, if you like, in my employment, we had quite an active work experience program, both directly and also indirectly via, at that time, the universities in WA were running their own career mentoring programs. It was Career Link, and I can't remember what the other one's called now. So what was being done then is we would take the mentees from the pool, if you like, and then various employers would offer 1 day, rather than being a 2-week program. We would offer 1 day, which was just a really, thumbnail type exercise in terms of visiting the laboratory, understanding what we do, whether it's commercial lab, whether it's an ag chem lab, production lab, whatever. They get to see what instrumentation gets used. They do plant tours, and they get a feel for the sort of chemistry and the work environment. And then the idea at the time was to try and get them to go to 10 or 12 different types of chemistry environments. And then from there, they could then think about, well, okay, which ones did look really interesting or enjoyable? Which ones, I suppose in some respects, they also find out very quickly which ones they don't see themselves in that environment or that career for the rest of their time. And it was really good to see that by meeting them at various camaraderies and monthly meetings after the event, how they fed back and said, look, it was absolutely fantastic to get that opportunity because now I found where I fit. And then they could get put in touch with people that could help facilitate that. And to the extent that some of them actually ended up working where they wanted to be, which I think is one of the strengths of this program, is actually being able to awaken people. Something you said earlier, I mean, even going back as far as when we used to also do high school work experience for years 10, 11 and 12, is we had a chart of 99 different careers where chemistry is a fundamental component. Unfortunately, I still don't have it because the old PR lady kept the thing. I didn't get a electronic copy of it, but it is amazing, from everything from pyrotechnics to data mining to you name it. There's roles where chemists, their expertise is invaluable in doing those roles. As you say, it's not just being an analytical chemist or at the bench or things like that. Chemistry is far more diverse.
Yeah, absolutely. You may be aware that NAB is actively trying to recruit PhD women into its finance section because of their strong analytical skills.
Well, as it happens, I have a daughter-in-law that works for the local state government, reviewing R&D grants.
Right.
And my son.
So she's my enemy because I'm on the other end. I'm doing the R&D grants.
Yeah. No, she works from home a lot now, so I get to hear some of her conversations where she actually walks people through their applications and where they could add value to make it successful rather than get it rejected. It's interesting. My son actually did a couple of years of chemistry at uni, and quite often she'll actually use him as a sounding board as well to make sure she asks the right questions.
Cool.
That it's valid. So it's interesting. But there are, I think there are lots of organisations, because now that, in particular, things like the banks, they want agronomists, they want chemists, they want all these professions within their ranks, because when they go out to lend money to these businesses and they get a business proposal put to them, I want to borrow $15 million or $20 million to set up XYZ, they want to know whether this is all, pie in the sky, or whether this thing actually has some merit.
Absolutely.
Or are they just one of another 5,000 people trying to do the same thing?
Absolutely. Now, Shane, if I could switch for a moment, Scott, we were talking about groups a moment ago. Are you still the chair of the farmer group in New South Wales?
Yeah.
And
I'm
therefore
still the
chair of what, the most active group in Australia?
Yeah, probably. Long before my day, though, that template. But it's been tough the last couple of years, because we've managed to still be active, but it's all been webinars, which just doesn't have the networking side for us. So the actually our first face-to-face event is in March, is on preservatives, is joint with CAPSIG, which is a special interest group in pharmaceutical and stuff for micro. So I will, once I've got the advertising, I'll send it all through, and for anybody on the line, you don't have to come to listen to the talks, but there might be 100, 150, 200 people from the pharmaceutical industry and cosmetics industry in the room. So that's the main thing.
So two follow-up questions I'd like to ask you, Scott. Firstly, What's your opinion of any young chemist, mentee or not, who puts their hand up and says, I'd like to be involved in a group committee, I'd like to help organise events? How does that affect their personal brand?
Oh, it can do an awful lot, I think. You know, I think sometimes people think these committees, like, they're hard to get on. We'd love people to help out, you know, I mean, some of these things, because we struggle to get people. So the scary bit with our committee is I'm always called the young bloke. And when you're in your 40s and you're called the young bloke, because half of them are retired and all the rest of it. So be great. Like you've seen, you know, firsthand, Dave, with the early career chemists and those guys that, you know, they're always up there. People know who they are. They're well recognized. You know, you don't have to do a lot. You know, as chair of the farm group, I just say hello. People kind of know who you are. So it just helps your brand, like you say, easily.
And then obviously you and I both know it can be pretty terrifying to turn up to a group. I mean, you talked about 100, 150 people. It can be hard to walk into a room full of 100 to 150 people who you don't know.
Yeah. But
as a mentor, as an organizer of events, you would agree with me that if any mentee said, I'm coming to this farmer event, would it be possible for someone to make sure that I get introduced, that I get included in conversations? We would say, of course it is. And we would make exactly that happen.
Exactly. The events in general, let's take a farmer event, obviously. The student price is relatively low. It pretty much just about covers the cost of the meal that you get at the end. So there's obviously COVID complications, but generally there's going to be a tea break in the middle, and there's going to be people chatting beforehand, and there's going to be some drinks and some meals at the end. And to use specific examples, Dave, I always invite my mentee along. So unfortunately, the last mentee hasn't been able to do anything face-to-face, but the one before, she only came at the end. She came to have a meal and network. She sat with me at the table. I introduced her to a couple of people. Anybody else that wanted to come along, William and some other people, William Lee got some people to come along, and we can introduce them to people that we know. I hate talking to people I don't know, so I understand, even though I'm quite loud and all the rest of it, I understand that it's difficult. So yeah, that's what we're there for. Like, she was interested in cosmetics, so I just wandered up to the quality manager of people who make a lot of liquid products up on the Central Coast and said hello, you know what I mean? So but just on that, Dave, just quickly, just at a different event, just going to RACI events, a guy called Matthew, who was one of the mentees, came up and chatted to me. He had a little business card like you told him to get, you know what I mean, as part of the stuff here. He chatted to me, gave me his card. I wandered off. I don't know, a month later, the lab manager was going for a role for a new graduate, and I just gave him the card and said, he sounds like he knows what he's talking about, because I've already talked to him, you know what I mean? So I know he can do the job. He just has to not completely mess up the interview. He's not a CV on a page. So he got a phone call and was asked if he wanted to apply. So it does pay to come along. It's two-way street. We're looking for people as well. It's not just one way, is it, when we go to these events? So that's cool. And the other mentee, I did nothing to get her a job, nothing. She was at a RACI event in the meal queue and chatted to a lady in front of her who happened to have a job in a water lab, a casual role. So she applied for it. You know what I mean? Just got to be around people, haven't you? Which is hard with last year. Anyway, I'll shut up.
No, you're saying all the right things there, Scott. And I will say that is one of my pieces of advice. Everybody, especially now that we're returning to the world, everybody should get themselves a business card. Where's the business card that I use? I can't find my own business card right now. Isn't that great? But every business card, it's very, very simple. Call it a networking card rather than a business card. And on this card is going to be your name, your contact details, and your university/interests, and your photo. Now, normally I don't recommend putting your photo on a resume or something like that. But the difference is, when it comes to a networking card, you've met someone, your photo is there, it reminds them of who they met. Have the card on simple paper stock, and on the back, have it blank so that you have the ability, or they have the ability, to write notes about you. so that when it goes into their pocket, it's not just a card, but it's a reminder of that young person that they met, so that exactly the scenario that Scott just talked about. Oh, hang on, I've got a card here. There we go. We're going to use we're going to pass it on, right? And when you go to events, screw the environment. You want to make it rain with those business cards, right? You know, to hell with the trees. You're getting those business cards out there, right? A pack of 500 business cards from China costs $50. It's not a lot of your money. It's eminently worth doing. Okay. Sometimes when I hold face-to-face events, I hold a little card competition, and whichever mentee hands me the best business card on the day gets a prize. So be aware of that. I may spring that on you at an event if I'm seeing you. Okay, well done, Lyndon. Let's pretty much wrap up. We've had a good chat tonight. Does anybody have any final questions before we wrap up? No.
Yeah. How do we join that pharmaceuticals group that Scott Colburn is the chair of?
You don't really have to join as such. You're a RACI member, so all the events get advertised and you'll see them come up. So what we've probably done poorly as a RACI, as a farm group is I don't know, like we did one a few years ago, and the topic was on cleaning validation. So it's about cleaning that you do of a pharmaceutical manufacturing facility. Sounds exciting, doesn't it? No, it doesn't sound exciting. But when we pitch it to the mentoring group or to the early career chemists and stuff, what we have to say is, this is a networking event with these people here. Here's the subject. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to listen to much if you don't want to of the subject. It's just there's people there, and that's where we've got to advertise it better. So we'll advertise them more. You don't really have to join that specific group. You can follow us, I think, on the page, but you'll get all the information, no problem.
Yeah, but if you want to specifically get on their mailing list, you can either just mail the group directly or let your state coordinator know, and they'll make sure that your name is ticked in the right mailing list.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, mailing list, yeah, certainly you can certainly get put on those. So that's cool.
There we go.
Yeah, and there'll always be, if you're a member, you'll get the newsletter, which always has the farm group events in it, and we always mail out to members. I do anyway with all the farm groups events, so just check your email and it will be there.
Yes, yeah, that's right, Brent, isn't it? It's all members plus our separate emailing list, if you know what I mean. So, so as long as you just pay attention to the RACI emails and don't just delete them thinking it's another bit of spam, you know what I mean? You'll be fine.
Sorry, I'm
just something I'd say
now, trying to find that.
Right, yeah. Sorry. Okay. Sorry, Shane.
I was just going to say, one of the things that I suppose I'll use as a little bit of advice is at various talks and presentations. Quite often, I used to see a lot of the younger generation sitting there madly taking a lot of notes, or screen grabs and things like this, or taking images, which are probably not too bad. But they spend a lot, I think, of their energy and their brain power actually just trying to capture what was being presented. And one of the things I suppose I used to give advice to mentors and others is don't try and capture the whole presentation. In fact, quite often you can get a copy of it after the event. Is what you're looking for is key pieces of information that they are imparting, whether it be a technique, an interesting fact, or otherwise. Maybe jot down a few things throughout. If it goes for half an hour, you might only drop down 4 or 5 things, but there will be a couple of key things, key learnings from that presentation. You say, that was clever, or that was smart, or I could use that. And realistically, over and above the networking opportunity, which is obviously fantastic, but doesn't matter what the subject matter is, drying paint, there'll be something in there that is a light bulb moment. You say, that's interesting, I'll remember that, and you jot it down as a grab. But you don't have to, as Scott was saying, listen to it chapter and verse and absorb every piece of the information. It's for some people it might be very interesting, and other people will say, oh, well, it's okay, but I've got to find out a couple little smart tricks with a GC or an NMR or something like that, which will help me in my role. And I got to meet 10 interesting people.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, Shane, because I don't know how many conferences I've been to in the last 10 years, I've never once attended a lecture. I don't go to conferences to listen, to sit in a dark room and listen to people talk. I go to conferences to meet people. So when everyone troops off to the dark room to go listen to a lecture, I go and circulate amongst the exhibitors and have a good long chin wag with them, get to know them when they're not busy.
Yeah.
So
I think you can do a bit of both.
yeah, no, I'm certainly not saying,
yeah.
I'm certainly not degrading it. I mean, you made some very valid points. I was just actually wondering, am I missing out? But yeah, I go to conferences solely and purely to network. So, all right, well, thank you everybody. And again, look, mentoring@raci.org.au. There are 5 of us on the committee at the moment. We jointly share that email address, so there's always someone to review your questions, and we're all here to help you. I mean, the whole point of us volunteering is because we want your early career to be as fulfilling and as swiftly growing as it can possibly be. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to our sponsors, again, DCS Technical, Envirolab and Laboratory Credit Union. And thank you also to all of the mentors who volunteer so much of their time to make this program a success. So thank you all for coming.